Greetings all. Welcome to Aquarian Diary. I'm your host, John Irving. It is January 26th, 2025. I published an episode here on my channel back in October of 2024 talking about how difficult it has been for Sagittarius for many, many years, going all the way back to 2008, and in some cases beyond. That episode had been on my mind for a while, and I was quite surprised at how much it resonated with people and the level of response that it received. Surprised and pleased. As a Sagittarian, I'm very familiar with what this period of time has been like. So that episode kind of went viral, at least as far as my channel is concerned. But the weird thing was, a few days before I published that episode, I had committed to an unrelated project that was going to be all-consuming and demand all my time and energy. So I wasn't really in a position to respond the way I would like to, or the way I normally would, to the way that episode was received. It used to be that I would respond to every single comment, or the vast majority of them, and do so quite promptly, and I took quite a bit of pride in being able to do that. I like to be respectful of people, and I appreciate it when people take the time to express their feelings to me about something that I have produced or published. So there I found myself in this crazy situation where this episode got a lot of attention, and I wasn't able to respond. You can imagine how frustrating that would be. And then what happened was around New Year's, things started to kind of go back to normal, and I had more time. And I have recently started doing astrology readings for some of the people who had reached out to me. I take this very, very seriously. Like, to me, doing a reading for somebody is a spiritual act. It's not something I take lightly or trivially at all. I feel like I'm talking to someone's soul, or reading, at the very least, what their intentions were for this incarnation. And I'm getting really strong chills as I say this right now. Like I said, I take it extremely seriously. So readings can take a lot out of me because they're so intense, and I really go deep into the chart and with the other person. And so I can only do a couple a day. If I push myself too hard, I'll just burn out. And I want to be in a state where I can do a really awesome reading for people, or at least I want to try to do that. It's very, very important to me. It's a blessing and an honor to be able to do that, to be in that position. So I've been doing these readings lately, and they're all Sagittarius for the most part, unsurprisingly. And I got to tell you, in all honesty, these people are really amazing and mind-blowing to me. Their stories, their personas, their being, their astrology charts, they're the kind of people I would talk to for sheer enjoyment. Like, I would want to hang out with them. I would want them to be my friends. And oddly, it seems a lot of these people are kind of a bit isolated. And I see them and I'm looking at their charts and going like, oh my God, you're such an amazing person. Such a wonderful person. So full of promise and potential. And many of them are very, very spiritual people and old souls. So that is very rewarding. But a lot of people have reached out to me, and I wanted to address this, my absence, and where I'm at. And if you have contacted me in the past about a reading and you haven't heard back from me yet, and it's really pressing to you, please reach out to me. It's going to take me some time to get through the backlog, but I will. It's just going to take a while. And it'll happen when it's supposed to happen. The other thing that I want to say is, as I described in my previous episode, which I will link in the episode description, 2025 is a year of huge shifts, and it's a potently transitional year. We just had the nodes shift signs. The North Node moved into Pisces, and the South Node moved into Virgo from Aries and Libra. That's a big shift. Saturn and Neptune and Uranus all shift signs in 2025. This is huge. Pluto, of course, shifted into Aquarius more permanently in the fall of 2024. Major, major, major change. Right now, Mars and Jupiter are retrograde. So we're kind of, to some extent, in a bit of a holding pattern. If you're trying to push forward with things and feeling like you're not in the flow, it's probably related to that. Those planets will be going direct in February, both of them, first Jupiter and then Mars later in February. So right now is kind of a time for introspection and retrospective thought. It's a time to reflect and plan and review. And the big shifts are going to start occurring this year. We get a taste of all of these new energies. So it's kind of like if you were to try and move forward with something now, it would be baked in the energies of the past cycles as opposed to the new ones that are about to begin. So hang in there, hold tight. In a lot of the charts I've been seeing, I'm seeing that there's a lot of potential for growth and expansion and strength just around the corner. When you listen to a reading for, say, for example, the sign of Sagittarius on YouTube, people do astrology readings for different signs all the time. What they do, because they don't know where you're born and they don't know what time you were born or what year you were born. So the default procedure is basically to put Sagittarius in the first house and then read what's happening from there. But it's kind of a generic reading. If you were doing Aries, you'd put Aries in the first house. Scorpio, you'd put Scorpio in the first house, and so on. When I do your chart, I cast your chart for the time and place and the year that you were born. So you might have Sagittarius in the 3rd or the 6th or the 8th or the 10th. It really depends on your own personal details. Everyone's chart is different. So there's generic readings like the ones you hear on YouTube, and then there's personalized readings like the ones that astrologers do, astrologers like me. And a personalized reading will tell us where these shifts are occurring and what other natal planets of yours they're interacting with. And this is extremely important because it gives us a tremendous amount of granularity and detail and context for how all of these changes and developments are going to influence you and your life. So that's really important to understand. If you've never had a personal astrology reading before, it's very different from what you'll find typically online. And of course, a lot depends on the caliber of the astrologer that you're consulting to, and everybody has their own style and presentation and level of experience and stuff like that. So my focus tends to be more on like your soul mission, why you came here, what your agenda was, what you incarnated to achieve or accomplish or learn, and that kind of then describes the atmosphere or environment that you live within throughout your life. Another thing is that, of course, astrologers sort of channel through the lens of their own personality. So, for example, if you were speaking to somebody who had a very negative framework or view of reality, that's going to influence what they say or how they interpret it. Also, of course, there's astrology software that you can use, and they vary in quality a lot. The interpretations vary quite dramatically. Interpretations for particular aspects or placements and so forth, or transits or whatever. But in all of my years of experience, I have yet to see any software that actually synthesizes all of those various components into a whole. The chart is holistic. So software, for example, can provide you with a brief interpretation of a particular placement or aspect, but those aspects are flavored by the house that they're occurring in, the sign that they're occurring in, and they are influenced by other aspects and transits and things that are occurring at the same time. I'm not aware of any software that even comes remotely close to being able to do that. Doing a reading is an art form, and I think it's going to be a very, very long time before there's any software that can approach what a well-trained human being can do. Plus, of course, there's intuition, which plays a big role in my readings. So there's no computer that can do that I'm aware of. It's just something else to be conscious of. And it takes a lot of experience to be able to do that. It's not, you can't just read books. You can't just read about a transit and then take that and literally apply it to a human being, right? I mean, that's how you learn, right? You learn by doing that, but you have to look at the chart, like I said, holistically. And you also have to understand the context for it. Like, what purpose does it serve in relation to all these other factors? So, it's pretty deep and complicated. And like I said, it's intuitive. So it's a spiritual act. You can cause great harm to somebody and affect their future. So you also need wisdom wisdom, which, just because of the way it works, seems to come with age and experience. So, like I said, if you contacted me previously and haven't heard back from me yet, I apologize for my tardiness, but reality literally prevented me from being able to respond in a more timely manner. I will catch up, though. One other thing I want to point out is that generally, I'm seeing this phenomenon in the world right now where everyone is kind of a little bit freaked out. And I think it pertains to these shifts that I was talking about. We're at the end of an old cycle and a new one is about to begin, but we're not quite there yet. We're in this transitional energy. Plus, we have Pluto in Aquarius now, solidly for another basically 20 years. And the energy of Aquarius, with its ruler Uranus. With Uranus, there's always surprising elements to it, and it can even be shocking and weird and foreign. So it's like the new normal is abnormal. Everything we thought we knew about reality and how things worked is kind of out the window. We are going to learn over time, and it takes a few years for this transition to occur. We are going to learn how to adjust to this rapidly changing and strange dynamic of the energy of Pluto in Aquarius. It really is about shaking things up. So one thing, like I said, you can always expect the unexpected. I noticed, for example, that in the fall of 2024, a lot of psychics and intuitives got things wrong in terms of their predictions. And that was quite stunning because it seemed to occur on a very large scale, like it involved a lot of people. And I think that is related to this whole thing of Pluto and Aquarius. Like, I can tell you, for example, when you're going to have a transit of Uranus in, say, hard aspect to one of your natal planets or your sun or your moon or whatever. And I can tell you that there's going to be major changes, and some of them might even be shocking or things that you've never even considered before. There's always a surprising element to Uranus and how it plays out. That's kind of its role. So in terms of being able to predict things, that presents all kinds of challenges because things never quite work out the way that you think. And things can change very, very suddenly and dramatically. It sort of turns everything on its head. So even right now, if we look at the world and we think we have a good grasp of how things are going to play out, we could find out in 6 months that we're totally wrong, right? That's just the way it is. So that energy creates a bit of anxiety and stress because it's very electric and highly charged. Like, for example, when you're under a Uranus transit to one of your personal planets, you can just be wired energetically. You can have difficulty sleeping, staying grounded. It's like you're bouncing off the walls, right? Or that's reflected back to you through outside forces, people, situations, whatever. It's very unstable. It's exciting, but it can really wear you down. So you need to stay grounded, and spiritual practice is very helpful with that. Maintaining your perspective and learning to be okay with being in an energy that is very dynamic like that. Some people might hate that, right? So if you're more mutable, Sagittarians are mutable, then it's a little easier for you. If you're more of a fixed sign, Aquarius is air. If you're a fixed sign, maybe you're a Taurus or something, you might find this really, really hard because things will be constantly changing and they'll be changing very fast. I happen to follow tech stuff because I was a really early adopter of personal computing going back to the early mid-1980s. And it's incredible what's happening with tech these days, how fast it's evolving and changing. It's almost impossible to keep up with. It seems like every day there are new developments. Technology falls under the guise of Aquarius, and I think that's a good metaphor for reality in the world. We have seen a lot of things shifting dramatically, politically, geopolitically, and so forth, and I think we can expect more of that. Again, it's all very unpredictable, and it's all constantly changing, and it can be quite alarming even at times. So things can happen very, very quickly and be unstable. So I think that's what I wanted to share with you. You'll find lots of links in the episode description. And again, I want to thank the amazing people I've been talking to lately. They're just incredibly inspiring. I think it's partially a product of Sagittarians going through so many difficult things It has really refined and polished them. You know how you find stones on a sand beach, and over countless years, the waves and the sand have polished the stones so that they're smooth. It's all the jagged edges are gone. And I think that's another metaphor for Sagittarians. This difficult period has really polished and refined us. And I think as well that in the coming years, we are going to come to the fore in many regards with all of our knowledge and wisdom and experience and compassion as a result of what we've gone through. Because I've seen quite a bit where people could be in positions of influence as Sagittarians. So it's very exciting, but again, we're in this transitional phase, so don't expect too much of yourself. Don't push the river. Again, if you're really keen on booking a reading with me and you haven't heard from me in a while, please reach out or reply to one of my emails, and I'll see what I can do. I really appreciate all of you so much. I beg your forgiveness for not being able to respond promptly. I will eventually get there. It's just going to take me some time. Check the episode description for other episodes or articles that are related or that I mentioned. And if you're interested in a reading with me, I'll put a link to that as well. Many sincere thanks to everyone who supports me, especially my YouTube members and astrology clients. Thank you very much. Take care, all the best, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.